Good morning, dear devotees, friends. Today is Sunday and we'll be studying the Yoga Vasishta. Yoga Vasishta, we will begin with this verse. Dikkaladi anabachinna Ananta Chinmatra Murtaye Swanubhuti Ekamanaya Namah Shantaya Tejase. Tejase is the Brahman. So, the traditional that our as Hindus, they always say the highest form of the God, if we say, is Brahman. The God is a little second grade, but the highest form is the Brahman. Dikkaladi anabachinna ananta chinmatra murtaye. I salute the Supreme Brahman who is beyond all qualities. So this is a very important thing, the qualities. What are the qualities? Sattva, Raja, Tama. Again and again, we have to remember these. Sattva, Raja, Tama are the qualities. But the Brahman is beyond the Sattva, Raja, Tama. And the moment it is beyond the Sattva, Raja, Tama, it is tranquil. So we are going into slowly a deeper part of this scripture, Yoga Vasishta, and we have to constantly remember the basic thing. The moment they say tranquil, the tranquility means it's not having the qualities. And qualities are Sattva, Raja, Tama. And the changes of the Sattva, Raja, Tama, permutation and combination of the Sattva, Raja and Tama creates the different varieties of beings and things. And the limitations, beyond the limitations of the directions, it is everywhere. Space, time or objects. Who alone is the embodiment of infinite consciousness. Infinite consciousness. The friends, the Hindus, the Sanatana Dharma, it says that God is everywhere. How it is possible? As a consciousness. As a consciousness, it is everywhere. And who is to be known only through the proof of one's own experience. By reading the scripture, we can get some idea. By hearing the words of the Guru, we also get some idea. But understanding will get confirmed only when I myself realizes. Otherwise, it is impossible. Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, when he was telling something, the great disciple, the very famous disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda said, unless and until I understand this, realize this, I am not going to accept it. So that is the attitude of a Vedantin. I am going to realize myself, or otherwise it is impossible. No one can explain, because you cannot explain through words. It is not an object, it is a subjective knowledge. So, Dikkaladi anabachinna Ananta Chinmatra Murtaye Swa Anubhuti Ekamanaya. Swa Anubhuti. Only through one's own realization, Namah Shantaya Tejase. I salute to that Brahman. Every day, before just beginning, we study this sloka. Why? To remind. So this is the goal. And I have to realize no one else can help me. Friends, in our last discussion, we have heard how Sri Rama very clearly explained his feeling about the human life and this world. Rama went out after completion of his study, and his brothers were also with him, but they couldn't understand what Sri Rama understood. What is that? He understood the futility of this worldly life. Apparently, it is so wonderful, so beautiful, so attractive, but in reality, there is nothing, all hollow. So the people, particularly the younger generation, they go mad when they see the movie stars. They say star. And those people, always they think that they are so happy. But in reality, it may not be. I'm using may because there are many people they are happy, at least in normal stage, but the way we think, that is not. Anyone you go, anyone, the highest man, the king, is not happy even. So that Sri Rama understood, and he said, Father, why you are asking me to become a king? I don't see any value in it. Nothing is going to happen. Whether a king or ordinary person, everybody is going to die. And in this temporary world, I don't like to live like this. Rama's mind was free from the spell of Maya. Why other people they can't think? Because of the Maya. What is this Maya? Again, the power of God. What this power does, it covers the truth and superimpose something on that truth. So that is the problem. So this is the Maya. Rama's mind was free from the Maya. Rishi Vishwamitra appreciating Sri Rama, saying, O Raghava, there is nothing else to be known by you. You have known everything by your own subtle intellect. He is appreciating the Sri Rama, young man of 16 years. Sometimes some people they think whether Rama is not a historical figure or not, all these things. It is, we should not enter into that. There are so many proofs are there. And the proof doesn't mean that only archaeological go and they will dig something and they will find. No, it is not like that. Even the scriptures, even the people who lived at that or afterwards mentioning about the personality, that also is a proof. But I am not going to into that argument. But the wonderful thing is, this young man of 16 years, he understood the truth, the futility of this world, and he came and he narrated it. We have already read in the last two discourses how he is presenting his mind, and not only before his father, but the two great sages, Vasishtha and Vishwamitra. Now the Vishwamitra, he was visiting, so he wanted to take Rama along with him. Now the Rama came, and then they heard that Rama has withdrawn his mind. He is not like the other princes, he is not playing or eating or having the joy, nothing like that. So they were worried. Vishwamitra told, you better call Rama over here, and this is the situation. Rama came, and as per the tradition, he paid respect. And why, Rama, why you are like this? Then he said, sir, this is the thing. Tell me, how can I get the tranquility? Tell me where from this world came. So hearing that, his father and the Vasishtha, they were quiet. But the Vishwamitra appreciated him and told that I will tell you a story of the Shukadeva, a very famous. The Shuka, he is the king among the monks, renouncers. So this Shuka was the son of the Vyasa. The Shuka story he is telling. Who Tu swayameva vivekena buddhe upi paravastuni. Para means the highest. Vastuni is that highest truth. He realized the highest truth through his own effort. But even then, he was not confident. Himself, through discrimination and subtle intellect, understood the highest truth, but still could not be confident about the realization. This is the reality. He could not say like that. So hence he said, indirectly, he was giving the hint to Sri Rama, O Rama, you need a guru, as Sri Shuka had. So why the guru? Because guru confirm the truth that you have realized or give the directions. The spiritual journey cannot be can be termed as a journey towards unknown. We do not know where we are going. It's a journey towards unknown. The Lord Buddha, he took the help of his father's friend and he told, can you please take me secretly and put me outside the capital? Then he told, okay. And then he was driving. And afterwards, when the Buddha was getting down and near the forest, he said, tell me one thing, son. I saw you that you are growing up just in front of me. Now you are supposed to be the king. You were having the huge kingdom and a beautiful queen and a son also. Having everything, you are going for something about which you don't know clearly. You have not seen. Only you have heard about it. Why you are taking this risk? Going for God realization and you have not seen God. You have only heard about it. Then the Buddha replied, I will try my best. There must be something, I must know that, and that is the ultimate place where I will get the peace, happiness, joy, eternal. Suppose you don't get? He asked. And immediately Lord Buddha replied, if I can't realize the God in this life, I will never say that there is no God. Rather, I will say there was some defect in my practices, so I could not realize God. So this is the tradition much before Buddha, Sri Ramachandra. He is also having the same. Friends, this is very unique. Sri Ramachandra had this idea that the world is temporary and he wanted to renounce. Same way the Lord Buddha, same way the Shankaracharya, same thing happening, same type of instructions, practices, same realization. So that proves this is truth. Only someone, somewhere, sometime realized something and declared that this is the God, and all others just accepting. This is not the scientific way to understand the truth. If the same methodology, the practiced, whatever may be the time frame, wherever may be, in whatever may be the places, and whoever may do that, the result must be the same. So that proves there is God. Sri Ramachandra did this before Sri Ramachandra Shukadeva, after Shuka, Rama, Buddha, then Shankara, then Sri Ramakrishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and so many people, one after another. There is God. The Guru is the embodiment of forgiveness because he knows it is common to make mistakes. So that is why the Guru. And we need a guide. We need a guide who knows about the road, about the path, about the destination, also knows the difficulties in that path. who not only guide but also remain by the side of the student and inspire till the student reaches the goal. That is Guru, constantly guiding. And Guru goes on forgiving, the embodiment of forgiveness. Why? Because he knows that the mistake is very common. The people may always have this. Then sometimes when the monks are coming, the young boys, they are coming out of the hearth and home and joining the monastic order and trying to realize God. After some time, there may be some mistake. They go back to the householder's life once again. Sometimes people will be criticizing them. The Swamiji said, Swami Vivekananda, no, you should not. Why? This is so difficult. There may be some faults, but there are people who are having the success in this path, and that proves it's a valid path and the true goal. The Guru is the embodiment of patience because he knows it's a long and difficult journey. Those who have read the biography of Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda, you know how difficult it was for Sri Ramakrishna to guide Swami Vivekananda. He was so intelligent and his personality was completely different. But Sri Ramakrishna, with great patience, guided him because he knew that this boy will be able to realize God. And that's why he was giving him the full attention and with great patience. Guru is not only a guide in the journey to the unknown, but also a friend and philosopher. When Swami Vivekananda, his father, passed away, and suddenly they were on the street, they were not having anything to eat even. They were so rich people. Even if you go today, that the ancestral house of Vivekananda, now Ramakrishna Mission has acquired and thanks to the governments, they have given the support. Now if you go, you will understand it's such a big, huge place. His father was so rich. But the moment he passed away, their family was so poor. Who was a friend then? No one else came to help Swami Vivekananda but Sri Ramakrishna. His Guru came forward to help him. The Guru is always like that. He is a friend and he is a philosopher. Only through God's grace one gets a true Guru, preceptor, a teacher. Shankaracharya, in his Vivek Chudamani, in the second verse, he is mentioning three things are really very difficult to achieve. Only by the grace of God one can have. And one is the guidance of a true Guru. To convince Sri Ramachandra, Rishi Vishwamitra continued the story of Shukadeva. Sri Shuka himself understood the truth but was not confident. He then asked his father Rishi Vyasa, Avishranta manastitva prapacha pitam tada samsara adambaram idam katham abbuditam mune. Second chapter, the fifth verse of this. Actually, I am reading from a book that has been compiled by the Gyanadhananda Bharati and translated by the Samvid. It has been published by the Samatha Books. The title of the book is The Essence of Yoga Vasishta. Some of you, dear devotees, you are requesting me to send out the verses beforehand so that you can prepare yourself, but I don't think it will be possible. First, I am not taking up all the verse one after another. I am just picking and choosing some of the verses, slokas, and explaining. This is the idea about this great scripture. And this moment I am reading from this book, and then I will shift to Swami Sarvadevananda's translation. The main book was Swami Dhireshananda, a great scholar of the Ramakrishna order, and the translated by Sarvadevananda into English. I will read from that book. Here I am quoting from this Ganadananda Saraswati Bharati, 2nd chapter, 6th verse. Abhisranta manasthitva prapacha pitam tada. We have to notice here the Shuka is not addressing his father as a guru. He is addressing as a father. Pitam samsara adambaram idam katham ubbhuditam mune katham cha prashamam yati. With a restless mind, the Shukadeva asked his father, O Muni, you are a thoughtful person, Mananshila. You are a very intelligent person. How this world arose? So this is a mystery always. Because this world with so many varieties, so many things. If you go and see the butterflies, how the butterflies are taking birth from a very peculiar situation, slowly a beautiful butterfly comes out. Who is doing it? And when you go and observe, those who are observing the nature, they spend whole time in observing the nature. It is so beautiful. And each and every place are full of mystery. How this is happening, why this is happening everywhere. And that's why he is asking. But the truth is, everything is temporary. Though very fascinating, but it's all temporary. And that is the reason we don't get the confidence that if I have this, I will have the happiness permanently. No. Including this body. I love my body so much. Even then, it is not going to stay. So he is asking his father, O father, you are a thoughtful person, knowledgeable person. Can you please tell me how this world arose and how it became inactive? How to be inactive, how to cease, how to go beyond this. Until one realize Brahman, until one have the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, one's mind remain restless. So that when they mention the restlessness of the mind of the Shukadeva, that means he not yet received that Brahmajnana truly and also the Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Then there remains no doubt. So with the help of the Guru, the guide of the Guru, when one goes to that, immediately Vidyate Sarva Samsaya. Shiyante Chasya Karmani Tasmin Drishte Parabhare. In the Upanishad it says, Chiddante Sarva Samsaya. Samsaya, the doubts. And if we have the doubts, we cannot make any progress. Suppose you go to a doctor, but seeing the doctor, if you have doubts, oh my God, this is the doctor? Do you think he will be able to cure me? It will be very difficult. Maybe he is a very good doctor. Maybe he is prescribing you the good medicine. But because you are having the doubt every moment, it's very difficult. So first and foremost thing is, you have to have the full confidence, otherwise it is impossible. For each and everything, the Shuka, they understood the truth. Because he was judging, he was analyzing, so he understood. But intellectually, hence the restlessness. His father Vyasa, being himself a realized soul, he understood Shuka will not accept his words. He could give the answer, but Shuka was not ready to accept it. Why? Father. And the children, they don't like to learn from their father. You know that yesterday was the birthday of a great educationist, Vidyasagar Mahashaya. But his sons, they could not learn anything from him, though he was the Sagara, is the ocean of knowledge. So Vidyasagara, the title was given to him because he was having so much of knowledge. But his children, they couldn't get anything. And so many others, so thousands of students, they were benefited through Vidyasagar. But why not his son? Because father, so they don't give much attention or respect to that. Oh, you, a father, I know him, he is getting up and there's so that is the reason one should not be very close association with the Guru. So they start thinking, he is just like us. This is the problem. So when you think the Guru as a very ordinary person, oh, just getting up like me and eating like this, making fun, so they slowly lose the respect. And once you lose the respect, you don't get the benefit of his teaching. Vyasa was a very intelligent person. He tried to teach his son Shuka. Being a Brahmagyani himself, he understood that Shuka is a very pure mind. And Shuka will surely realize the Brahman. But when he was having the doubt, he asked the question very casually. The father understood, no, you won't accept my words. So he said, Naham janami tattva. He said, I don't know. Is he telling the untruth, the false? He knew. But still he said, Naham janami tattataha. I don't know the truth exactly. Why he said like that? He didn't mention the I know it, but son, you are not going to learn it from me because of your ignorance. I am not like that. He said, I don't know. Why? Because son was thinking in that way. It is not the falsehood, but rather he said, okay, then he said, Janako vitti tattataha tasmat sarvam avapnuhi. 2nd chapter 8th verse. He said Janaka, and he was a very famous person in those days. And that's why, friends, when we read this, it is Janaka, he was the king of Mithila, and Mithila was having this type of the land, everything is there. So obviously that those gives the proof that these people were there, historical. So this Janaka Vitti Tattataha Tasmat Sarvam Avapnuhi. And Rajarshi Janaka, he was having the title Rajarshi, Raja and Rishi. The Rishi means he is a renouncer because he knows the truth, the futility of this world. But at the same time, as Janaka was a king and he was a Kshatriya, he was practicing his Swadharma too. The Swadharma of a Kshatriya is to rule the country as a king. So he didn't give up the Swadharma. But look at his mind. Though he was living as a king, but all the kingly life, the attraction of the kingly thing, and he was the king, so ego is supposed to be there. If you look at the history, majority of the king, almost all the kings are so egoistic. But Janaka was not like that. Why? Rishi. So Raja Rishi, he was a king though. He was a Rishi too. The Rajarshi Janaka knows that reality. So, O my son, obtain all knowledge from him. In the clever way, he sent his son to him eagerly. So this is the Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna He was teaching Swami Vivekananda. Even then, the young man, he was thinking, if I go to him, maybe I will learn much better thing. Or if I go to him, if I go over there, I can meditate well. So all these thoughts, it comes. So the Naren and some other, they all went to Bodh Gaya, where the Lord Buddha realized the truth. They went and meditated over there, but they didn't get that peace of mind. If you go to a place and meditate and pray, you are supposed to feel the peace in your mind. Otherwise, it's sure that you have not received anything. The spirituality means peace and the joy within your mind. If you go to a temple and then offer the puja, and if you get the joy, the peace, not the friends and the people and all those things happening, not like that. Within your mind you will feel. And that is the place good for you. That is a spiritual place for you. So this is how the Vivekananda went with his friends, they meditated, then they came back, and that time Sri Ramakrishna was very sick. He was in Kashipur, almost at the fag end of his life. When they came back, Sri Ramakrishna was not in a condition even to talk. But he smiled at them and said, like this, he showed with the finger, and he showed a round in the air and then pointed to himself. This time, nothing around anywhere. It is all over here. But when Sri Ramakrishna was teaching Devan, because so close, Sri Ramakrishna every day they used to find him. Oh no, we will go over there and meditate. It is nothing like that. When I was young, the one Swami came to visit, I was serving him. It is a young, with the brahmacharis, novices, they are supposed to serve physically the Swamis, washing their clothes and making their beds and arranging food and all that. I was doing. Then one day I was walking with him, and Swami told, hey, what do you want? Why you have become a monk? I told Swami, I like to go to Himalaya and meditate. That is a dream for every Hindu sannyasi. Going to Himalaya, because we heard so much about the Himalaya. If you go to a cave and like that, all imaginary. Caves are not that safe and comfortable. It is not so easy. But anyway, young people, they all dream like that. Then that Swami told me a wonderful word I never forgot. He said, it is not the place, my son. It's not the place. It's the people with whom you are living. That is important. If around the people around you are very good people, they are studying scriptures, practicing meditation, and having that spirituality in their life, live with them, learn from them, try to practice like them, and you will be benefited. Instead of going to the Himalaya, sitting over there, and then ultimately nothing you will achieve. There are some people, of course, very good souls are there. So friends, this way, his father Vyasa, he is guiding the Shuka. And Shuka eagerly went over there. But though he went eagerly, but the Janaka was a great teacher. Knowing the intention of Sri Shuka, Rajarshi Janaka compelled him to wait for 7 long days and nights without giving any attention. And in Sanskrit they are mentioning in the 9th verse, Tushnim abasthito raja gate tat dina saptake. Dina saptake means 7 days. Tushnim. They never cared. Not only that, he didn't allow him to enter into the palace courtyard. He was outside the palace. And you know, the outside the palace, when people will come and look at that man standing, and he was stark naked. So people started throwing stones and making jokes and all that. They never knew. Because he was not having the body consciousness. That young man, he was standing over there, is a great soul. But the Janaka compelled him to be there. So in that humiliation, how he reacts. When one comes to become a spiritual, to develop the spirituality, this is the first taste. In the Belur Math, whether you are a doctorate or you are this, you are that, rich man's son or whatever, all the menial work you have to do, you must do. And at our times we have seen, now little sophistication has come. I mean, our time they used to handle us so rough way. So why? You have to be in every situation, you should be calm and composed. That is the first quality to become a spiritual person. First quality. In every situation, calm. Why? One Swami taught me. He told, never react. You know why? This, THIS, shall also pass. This shall also pass. This will also go away. Good thing has come, it will also go away. Bad days have come, it will also go away. Challenges, it will also go away. So, be always quiet. That's the first thing. Tushnim abasthito Raja. Raja means the Janaka. And the patience is the very important quality of a spiritual life. Then Sri Shuka passed that. Then the king allowed him to enter into the courtyard of his palace, huge courtyard and all that. He entered. There are in those days mostly inside the courtyards many other things were there, the shops and all. But the king never met him. Another 7 days. He was just roaming here and there, picking up little food maybe. But the purpose for which he came, no one was listened to him. No one told whether Janaka will meet him or not. But Shuka didn't lose the patience because he was coming to the Guru. This is a great conception in the ancient time Hinduism, and the Sanatana Dharma, we should say, the great conception. You know why? The Guru is God, and I am going to my preceptor who will give me the liberation. I must be patient. Whatever he does and says, I should wait and wait. In Hindi couplet they say, Guru ka ghar mein gai ka aapik pad raho. You should be humble like a cow at the door of your Guru. Here in America, they will be telling, hi Guru, not like that. So it is all good, but here you have to understand that, okay, you can address like that, but the great respect should be there, otherwise you won't learn. And what you are going to learn? The thing that you already know. This is very important. The thing that you already know, you have already read, you know it. Even then you are going to receive it from the mouth of the Guru and accepting it as the ultimate thing in your life. So the respect is the first thing. And how the Guru will judge you? Because the patience. Suddenly everything changed in the life of the Shukadeva. There was a flood of royal reception. So many people came, gave him the costly clothes, and then bathed him with the scented water and very tasty food, drinks. Well-dressed people were attending him, and different kind of merriments, all was happening. People started throwing the flower petals on him and giving him so much of respect. When he was walking, they were spreading the flower petals so that he can walk on a soft place. The stone should not hurt. That person, he was there for 7 days. And before that, he was outside 7 days. These people never gave the attention. Suddenly, everything changed. What the reaction ordinary people would have? Either you will say angry, why you didn't pay attention, and or he will be bewildered. Oh, these people are giving me so much respect. I am somebody. Nothing happened in the mind of the Shukadeva. That is the wonder of wonders. Sri Shuka behavior never changed in any situation. First is the insult. Second, indifference. Third, welcome. So three different conditions are coming. First is the insult. He went and reached, but they never opened the gate of the palace to enter into that. He was a highly respected person's son. They knew the insult. He took that insult as it is. Then when next he entered, indifference. Okay, you are also there like any other. But then finally, so much of welcome, but he was always the same. Then the king of Mithila, the Janaka, came and saluted the young rishi, saying, Swagatam te Mahabhaga. Now he was observing. He was trying to know the mind of the Shuka, because he is going to get the highest knowledge of the Vedanta. Swagatam te Mahabhaga. O blessed one, you are welcome. Mahabhaga means blessed one. Why blessed? You have already developed the quality which a Brahmagyani should have, and that is the patience. The mind is always tranquil in every situation. That is the ultimate thing. Prapta Akhila Manoratha. You have already attained all your wishes. Prapta, achieved. Akhila Manoratha, everything. Akhila means unlimited. You have achieved everything. Then Kimi Hitam Tabe Yukta. What is your wish? Now he is asking, why you have come to me? I can see that you have achieved everything already. And you are a great soul. Now tell me, why you have come to me? Kimi Hitam Tabe Yukta, what is your wish? Shuka then humbly asked the king. Shuka Rajanam Abravit. Shuka is humbly asking, Samsara Adambaram Idam Katham Abhuditam Guru. Now the last address we should notice. He is telling Guru, O beloved teacher, O respected teacher, O my Guru. The same question he asked to his father, he is asking, can you please tell me how this world was created? That this is a great question. Every spiritual seeker, when they look at this, they always think, why it is like this? It pakhata chaliyega. So they always think why it is like this. So naturally, if we can understand the world and this creation, then obviously we can solve many problems. And if this creation is completely temporary, everything is going to be changed, then naturally, why should I put my full concentration on that? He is asking, Samsara Adambaram Idam Katham Abhuditam Guru. Reverend Guru, he is addressing. Now, but here the great respect and attention is given to the words of the Guru. Indian tradition teaches that Guru should be considered as God himself. His words are respectful as Veda. This is the traditional teaching. There, the Guru, who can be a Guru? Father and mother, the parents are also considered Guru, because they have taught us so many things. Second, the teachers. They are also teaching us many subjects. Then the third is the final guru, is the spiritual guru, because he is giving me the liberation from the bondage of birth and death. Father and mother cannot give. Even the school and college teachers cannot give. But the spiritual teacher giving me the highest thing, and that is the mukti. So this is the tradition it goes. Yoga Vasishta, the very second verse of the first chapter, detachment or Vairagya Prakaran, discuss an Adhikari Nirupam, who is a capable person to study Vedanta. This you will find this verse in Swami Sarvabhadevananda's book, page number 5. And this is it goes like this in that book, Sarvabhadevananda's book, chapter 1st and 2nd verse, it says, Aham baddho vimukta syama iti yasya asti nishchayaha na atyantam agya no tad gya sa asmin shastre adhikaravan. Asmin shastre adhikaravan. He is capable to understand the scripture. Not only Yoga Vasishta, Vedanta scripture. Who? Aham baddho, the conception that I am bound. Majority of the people don't feel like that. They are so happy in this world. Even when they are dying a miserable death, even then they are thinking, next life if I come, I will be a rich man, I will be having this, I will be having that. They do not understand that they are bound. The baddha, that conception is completely not there in the mind. They won't be able to study Vedanta. Even if they study, they won't realize the truth that the Vedanta is teaching. So aham baddha is the first thing. I am bound, so I need the guidance to bimukta syama iti. I like to be liberated. Yasya asti nishchayaha. And truly they believe that this is the thing that I must have to have. Now atyantam agya, and not completely ignorant. Now you have to understand the subtlety of the teaching. So the people who are completely ignorant, can't understand anything, no, they won't be able to study this. Tat ga, no tat ga. I know everything. These people, if they think in that way, they also won't be study. Sa asmin shastre adhikaravan. One who strongly feels that he is bound in these worldly things, and I must be liberated from the circle of birth and death, and one who is neither completely ignorant or the knower of truth, he alone is competent. Acharya Shankara, in his book The Vivek Chudamani, the verse 14, mentioned that success in spiritual life completely depends on the student. And he mentions very nicely, and Vivek Chudamani is always very systematically, and like the poem he mentions all this. Adhikarinam ashaste phala siddhi visheshataha upaya deshakaladya santasmin sahakarinaha. These verses are so beautiful, one can remember it. Adhikarinam ashaste phala siddhi visheshataha. Phala, the result, siddhi, the success, depends on the adhikari. Adhikari means the student, one who wants to study. Now upaya, desha, kala, adya, santasmin sahakarinaha. But the other things like the time, place and other things are just by secondary. The upaya, the process, or the desha, the place. Oh, if I could go to the Chicago University, I could be successful. Not like that. If I am not able to study properly myself, I won't be able to do it, get the success in any good, even in the universities. They cannot help. And kala, the time also, no, nothing. Whatever may be the time, whatever may be the place, whatever may be the system, if one is really good, it is said that Vidyasagar himself, he was so poor, he came from a village and he was not having a little light to study. He used to sit under a street lamp, and in those days it was not electricity. And that small little light that he used to get, used to study the whole night. It depends on him, on the person. So this is called the spiritual success also depends on the person. And also, who can be a true student of Vedanta? Friends, I will quote from the Vivek Chudamani, and in the 16th and 17th it defines in like this. Now here, as it was telling in the this scripture, that one should not be very ignorant. Vivek Chudamani also says, Medhavi Purusho Vidwan Uha Apoha Vichakshanaha Adhikarya Atma Vidyayam Ukta Lakshana Lakshitaha. Medhavi, an intelligent and learned person, Vidwan Uha Apoha Vichakshanaha. Vedanta means you are denying this world. You are denying the body, but still you are surviving. Constant practice is nididhyasana. It is not meditation. The moment you say that I am meditating, the question will come, who is meditating? We will slowly will go to that. You are not meditating because you are the one. So vichara, the Brahma vichara, constantly. Can any ordinary person do it? So Medhavi is a very intelligent and also learned. And not only that, Uha, Apoha, Vichakshanaha, and he is fit in the debate also. He is very skilled in debating. But the debate with himself, is this world truly false? People don't like to think that the father, the mother, the relatives, so close people, they are nobody. They cannot think about it. They do not like to think at all. And if you go and say, they will be all the time putting questions. So you should be very clear, those who are trying to be the student of Vedanta. So debating capacity. Atma Vidyayam Ukta Lakshana Lakshita. These people, they only can have this knowledge. And in the 17th, they suggest that aspirant must have qualities like, these are the qualities that the student should have. 1. Vivekina, Viraktasya, Samadhi Gunashalinaha, Mumuksha Eva Hi Brahma, Jigyasa Yaggata Mata. A person who is capable to discriminate between the real and the unreal. If we don't have that capacity to understand what is real and what is unreal, this particular, that is why in traditional Sanatana Dharma in Hinduism, there are many different ways to reach God. And Swami Vivekananda said, we never start the journey from the untruth to truth. No. Lower truth to higher truth. This is a beautiful way he explained. Everything is truth. Lower truth to higher truth. And maybe a class 8 standard boy, when he is looking at the sun, he can explain about the sun. He has studied how much of the energy is there, etc. But even then, when the teacher or a scientist is explaining the sun, how he will explain? So this is also the capacity to judge. It may be lower, it may be higher. So those who are thinking, if I go to the temple and pray to the Ganapati, and the Ganapati will give me all the blessings, true. Like that we have to start. But the Vedanta we are going to study, the Vivekina, Viraktasya, who is disgusted with the unreal things. If that Virakta has not come, then he cannot become a Vedantin. This Virakta should be there, disgusted with these worldly things. When you go to the parties, sometimes as a Ramakrishna Mission monk, we go to the great parties like organized by the President of India or the Prime Minister of India. The great things are there. Maybe some rich people. All other people are thinking, oh, if we go, we'll have the socializing, exchanging the cards, develop. But a monk may go over there, but completely detached. He's just looking at the things and, oh, these are the things, it's okay. So that detachment, why? He's convinced about the futility of all these things. That is called Viraktasya. Virakta, that is the word. Samadhi gunashalinaha. And he remains unperturbed in all situation and sincerely longing for the liberation. Mumuksha eva hi. Mumuksha, I like to get the liberation. That is called mumukshata. Brahma jigyasha yaggata mata. Only then you have the capacity, quality to ask about, to know about the Brahman. It is said that the students of Vedanta are two categories. One is primary, mukhya, another is secondary, amukhya. Now primary or the mukhya student belong to very special group. Vedanta. The Vedanta as a completely pure Advaita Vedanta, then the Dvaita Vedanta, Vishishta Vedanta, all are Vedanta. But here it is primary and Advaita Vedanta. And it says this special group, why? They attain supreme knowledge immediately after hearing the great word from the Guru. The moment they listen to that, Aham Brahmasmi Tattvamasi. How they initiate? This is the way. Just the Guru says, you are that Brahman, that much. Tat Tvam Asi. Tad means that Brahman. Tvam, you, Asi, are. You are that Brahman. That much. And no other help. So you can understand how much practice or intellect and the condition, the mind is alert and ready. The moment that comes, immediately all doubts are vanished and he gets that knowledge. And he is in great joy. And secondary or the amukhya students are of two types. One type is called the Vihanga Marga. Vihanga Marga means like a bird. It comes and sits on that, on the branch of a tree, straightway. They hear the Mahabhakya. Mahabhakyas, you know that in the Upanishads there are four. The first is Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, like that. This Mahabhakya dictum from their Guru and attain direct knowledge of the self through discrimination. It is also known as Nididhyasana. Now, Nididhyasana is a way of discrimination. It is not dhyana. It is not meditation. Meditation is the process of the yoga. The yoga, they teach the meditation. And in the meditation, they're withdrawing the mind, the sense from the sense objects, collecting in one place, and then going to the original. But that is the process goes on. But the Vedantin, they practice only vichara. Because if they think that I am meditating, I am withdrawing my sense organs from the same object. That means I am withdrawing. The moment I, there is thou. The God and I are separate then. So you are not a pure Vedantin by that way. So they do not meditate. They only do the vichara. I cannot be this body. I cannot be this mind. And all these things are nothing, cannot be there, because it is the only consciousness. This way they go on constantly thinking. That is called vichara. And that is the reason their mind becomes so pure. What is the purity? When there is no touch of worldliness. When there is no touch of ego. That is called purity. And moment it happens, immediately they are realized. And second type called Pipilika Patha. The Pipilika Patha means it goes like the ant. The ant slowly go, but go to to their goal. But their journey slowly. So they will be meditating and they will be doing the unselfish work. So this is the Pipilika Marg, Pipilika, the ant way. Janaka then gave the answer to the Shukadeva, hearing which the Shuka, he understood with own effort. I understood it. Janaka gave the reply. What was the question? We should not forget how this world came. Immediately the Janaka gave the reply. Hearing that, Shuka thought, oh, I knew it. My father also told me that. But then the Shuka asked, Tatto Vistramam apnoti Katham Cheta Bada Prabho. O Guru, how does the mind attain tranquility? Friends, we will stop today over here. How does the mind attain tranquility? Janaka will give the answer, and then we will enter into the Sri Ramachandra's the question and answer. How Ramachandra was putting the question and his gurus, they were handling. And this time, not Vashishta himself, directly he will give the answers. And we will enter into the real text. And that time, mainly I will follow the book of the Swami Sarvadevananda. And many of you are having that book. If you don't have, you can purchase from here, from our bookstore. And we will follow, and I can give you the chapter and the words and the page number. Those who like to follow, it will be easy for you to follow that. Thank you, friends. Let us conclude, but if there is a question.
There are many questions. So the first question is from Apratim Chatterjee. He is asking, Ananda or bliss is an experience of the mind, but Brahman is beyond the mind. So is it Brahman in bliss, or is it the Jiva who experiences the bliss in the process of realizing Brahman?
So Ananda Brahmeti Vyajanat is a very good question that you have asked. But how to explain Brahman? As because from your question we can understand that you have studied the Vedantic scripture, that you know that Brahman cannot be explained. But something you must have to tell for the future generation, for the students. What is the Brahman? Ananda is the Brahman. And everything has come from the Ananda. In the Taittiriya Upanishad it says, Anandeva khalu imani bhutani jayante Like that it says. And what is this Ananda? We all know what is Ananda, the joy. So the moment they say it is joy, complete joy, we can understand something. So that is the way it says. But we cannot say it is this. This is the one thing. Second, the Jivatma, the reflected, the consciousness which is experiencing it, it is not experiencing the total, ultimate, eternal bliss. It cannot. But Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna said, in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, when one goes, it goes into such a condition of joy that he cannot retain it. So the ordinary sadhaka who has reached over there, he die within 21 days because he never gives any attention to the body, and he dies and falls like a dry leaf. So this is the way they are explaining. What happens after Brahmagyana, nobody can explain. But only we can assume that is a great joy. So it is said, the Brahman is joy.
The next question is from Srima Vishwas. What is the right age for Guru and Diksha?
Age? Today, I gave a Diksha to a very young girl. I think she is in grade 6. What would be her age? Maybe 12? 10 years. And she is so intelligent. She wanted to take the Diksha in the last year. Then I told, no, you are too young. Then I asked her to remember a one mantra prayer I gave. And I told, I will ask you, and if you can repeat that mantra, then only I will give you the Diksha. And he remembered the whole long, the 2-line prayer, all through, practiced it. So it depends on the eagerness. So there is no age limit. It depends on the eagerness.
So the next question is from Ananya Rai. Sir, is there any way to take Guru Pranam from you? I apologize if I am asking anything wrong.
Guru Pranam. Now, read that again.
Is there any way to take Guru Pranam from you?
Guru Pranam to give, it should be. The means, so if you like to offer Pranam to someone as a Guru, you can of course. And Guru is one from whom you have got the initiation, Diksha. But any respected person, you can offer your Pranam as Guru. There is no problem.
The next question is from Kaushik Chatterjee. I have bought the book Yoga Vasishtha by Swami Dhireshanandaji from Yogananda, from Udbodhan. Would it be helpful to go side by side with you?
Oh yes. This is the main book we are studying actually. As because it is a Bengali, so we are not directly quoting from there, but same verses. Sarvadevananda ji only translated that book. He didn't write himself. He has translated this Dhireshananda ji's book. It will be very helpful, and very clearly it is mentioned there.
The next question is from Dev Jani Third. Realizing Brahman, which is an experience of mind, does that mean seeing God also?
Oh, no, Devjani, I'm sorry. Realizing Brahman is not the experience of the mind. It is beyond mind. How the mind can experience it? So obviously, mind can experience only time, space and causation. The time, the samay, space, the place, and the reason. I saw you in Delhi and so time. So I can explain like that. But the Brahman is beyond time, space and causation. That's why no one can explain. Mind doesn't realize the Brahman. It is the self that merges with the Supreme Self, and that is a unique way, unique experience. No one could explain it. Boje pran, boje ja. Swami Vivekananda, in his poem, he is telling, it is only the self, those who have realized it, have realized it.
The next question is from Tuhin. If Nididhyasana is Vichara,
Nididhyasana,
is Vichara, is not concept of duality come?
no. As he is doing the Vichara, yes, it's a very, very good question. Nididhyasana, that Nididhyasana is not the meditation, but constant remembering that I am not the body, I am not this mind, I don't belong to this world. And that is the way constantly that self is merging with the self. So that is the highest level, and through Nididhyasana one merges with the Brahman. The problem is, as Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna is telling, suppose that the Master Mahashaya was asking him, Sir, can I see God? Immediately Sri Ramakrishna put the one piece of cloth in between the Master Mahashaya, the teacher, and between him. And he said, can you see me now? No, sir, I cannot. So why? Because the cloth. I removed the cloth. Can you see me now? Yes. So that is only. The Nididhyasana is completely abnegating, removing the ego. So the I consciousness should not be there. But in the practice, of course, it is there. In the beginning, when the practices are going on. But this practice comes when the mind is very pure. Ordinary people won't be able to do this practice.
The next question is from Madhumita Kaur. She is asking, Virakta comes with depression from worldly pleasure. Then how can one person follow Vedanta?
But Madhumita, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Madhumita, you are Virakta, you are disgusted with some of the worldly things. And suppose again somebody give you those things, are you ready to take that? No, then it is not Virakta. The Virakta means, suppose you are disgusted, you are something you wanted, but you couldn't achieve. So at this moment, the mind is disgusted with all this. Sometimes even when we were young, the children, when they are angry with the friends, they say, I am not going to talk to anybody. And they will go and lock in their room and they won't talk like this. It is not the Virakta. Virakta means, here in the Sanskrit word, they are living in this world, but internally they know all these objects that I see around me are temporary, and I don't want this. The great name, fame, suppose some big country give you and request you to come and receive some the certification and all. What will happen? Immediately, oh no, I have to go. It is not. The Virakta is completely different. I will tell you, Swami Ranganathananda ji. He was a great Swami, many of you know perhaps. The then government of India wanted to give him the Padma Bhushan, the very high the respect in the India. But the Ranganathananda ji humbly wrote back, I cannot accept it, because you know why? My Guru gave me the name Swami Ranganathananda, and I cannot put Padma Bhushan Swami. As a Guru gave me the name, and I don't want anything before that. And Padma Bhushan is the highest order respect for an Indian. The country is giving me. I don't like to insult it, putting at the back end of my name. So please, I don't mind, I don't like to accept it. That is called Virakta. Even though things are there before you, but you know that I am not going to accept it. that is called Virakta. Is it over? So thank you. So let us say Shanti 3 times. So thank you for the beautiful questions. And when you are asking question means you are understanding things. So slowly, together we will study and we will enter into the depth of the Vedanta. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Devotees, friends, today is the 27th September. That was the concluding day of the Parliament of Religion, where Swami Vivekananda gave a wonderful lecture and making the unity. And this issue that today we have published is called the Chicago Calling. The Chicago Calling magazine, and that will be published today itself. It is containing all the lectures that our Swamis gave about the Ganges, and also some of the quotations from the devotees that they remembered about the Ganges. So it's a beautiful book, a magazine you can say, and you can get it online, and at the same time, and you can send or order for, if you like to purchase from here, only $3. So, but I am happy that on this particular day we could publish this magazine, the 27th of September, the Swami Vivekananda's guidance to Vedanta. Thank you very much.